Hello, friends. Welcome back to English Classes Online. My name is Benjamin. Today's video is on the use of prepositions and how to pick correct answers in the West African Senior School Certificate Examination English exams. That is Wassce English exams. Now, this video is about the West African Senior School Certificate Examination English preparatory lesson. Of course, if you are going to sit for any of the other equivalent exams, such as National Examinations Council, Senior School Certificate Examinations, or NABTEB, or even any of the other English exams, of course, this video is for you. If you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Click on the bell icon as well, so that whenever a new video is uploaded on the channel, you will be instantly notified. Without much ado, let's dive into the lesson. Now, at a glance, let's look at the uses of prepositions. We want to start with the big three: in, on, and at. Now, you can see quite clearly here. Let me try to draw your attention to each of these. Now, we begin with in. Of course, the preposition in is used for general and bigger uses when you are talking about a larger geographical area. You know, if you are talking about continents, you are talking about countries, states, towns, cities, neighborhoods, enclosed places or enclosed spaces, if you like. Now, we are going to look at this, look at the examples. Then in terms of time, you also look at the larger, time units, such as centuries, decades, years, months, weeks, seasons, holidays, periods of time, and parts of the day. You use in. We are going to look at this specifically. Now, so the bigger uses, and the more general references are what the preposition in is used for. Then in terms of time, we have seen, of course, they are also, the preposition is also used for the general and bigger uses. Now, the preposition on is for more specific and smaller uses. For example, talking about place, you should be using on for streets, avenues, surfaces, means of transportation, and means of communication. Of course, there are exceptions and there are cases, where, you find overlapping functions among the prepositions. We are going to look at all these. In terms of time, you use on for days, dates. All right, you say on Monday. You don't say in Monday. All right, and for dates, specific days like your birthday, your wedding day, and so on. Now, day with parts of, of the day, when we are going to look at this specifically. Then holiday with day as part of it. And then you look at time as well. Now, we use at for very specific and smallest uses. When you want to talk about a specific location, that someone is in a space, at a particular location at a given time, all right? like you are at school, you are at university, you are at home. You use at for a more specific reference. Now, in terms of place, you use at for addresses and for specific locations. In terms of time, you can use at for hours at 4 p.m. All right, and specific time, all right, specific parts of the day, holidays, and so on. All right, so now let's move on, and we look at the examples, specific examples of this. Now we want to begin with in. We want to look at uses of in, and we see examples of how we use in. Now, as I earlier mentioned, the preposition in is used for general and bigger uses. And when we are talking about place, we begin with continents, all right? Continents. So you say in Africa, in Europe, in America, in Asia, and so on and so forth. Then in terms of countries, in Nigeria, in France, in UK, in, mention whichever country you have in mind, and you need the preposition in. In terms of states, all right, in Lagos, in Abuja, in Enugu, in Jos, in Kaduna, and so on and so forth. These are states in Nigeria. Then in terms of cities, in Paris, all right, in New York, of course, there is a typo here. So let's break this, because the next thing we are going to look at is neighborhoods. All right, we have looked at cities, then we look at neighborhoods. Now, in Ojota, in Aja, in Sabo, when you have a community or a neighborhood, of course, it's appropriate to use in. Then you have enclosed spaces, such as in a car, in the room, in a cave, in, of course, anything that gives the idea of something being within another enclosure. Of course, you can say you are in the room, all right, in a car, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's look at time. For centuries, then you talk of in the 1800s, all right, in the 19th century. So you use in for centuries. Then you use in for decades. So you can talk about in the 1960s, all right? Then in terms of years, you can say in 1985 or in 2001. Talking about months, then you can say in August, in May, in March, and so on and so forth. You use in for weeks, in a week, in 2 weeks. For seasons, you can say in the rainy season, in winter, or in summer. All right? So those are the uses of in. Well, let me move this so we can see quite clearly. All right? Then talking about holidays, you can say in the Easter holiday, in the long vacation. You use in for periods of time such as in the past or in the future. Talking about parts of the day, you can say in the night or in the morning. Talking about length of time, you can say in a month's time or in 20 minutes. All right, so those are the uses of in. All right, so let's erase this and then we go to the next page and look at the uses of on with examples. Now, I earlier mentioned that on is used for more specific and smaller uses. In terms of place, you use in for streets, for example, on Martin's Street, on Broad Street, and so on and so forth. You use on for avenues, on 6th Avenue, on 5th Avenue, and so on. You can use on for surfaces such as on the floor, on the beach, and so on. In terms of means of transportation, you can talk about some larger means of transportation such as train and bus. You use on. Remember, we use in for a car, in a car, but talking about a train, which is a larger means of transportation, we use on a train, on a bus, all right? Then means of communication, there you can use on for television, on television, on the radio, and so forth. Then looking at the time, you know, how we use on to talk about time. We use on to talk about days, such as on Monday, on Friday. So any of the days of the week, you use on for each of them. Talking about dates, on the 1st of March, on June 12th, all right, you use on for dates. You use on also for specific days, such as on my wedding day, on my birthday, and so on. Then talking about days plus part of the day. For example, on Friday night, you know, Friday is a day of the week, then part of the day is night. So if you are combining the two, you are talking about the day, mentioning the name of the day, such as Friday, and then talking about the part of the day that is specific to that discussion. Then you should be using on Friday night, on Monday morning, all right? Then holidays with day attached to it. For instance, on Christmas Day, on Easter Day. Then some specific time that is being referred to on the weekend, all right? On the weekend. Okay, so these are the uses of on, all right? So let's now look at the third major preposition before we look at others, all right? Now, we are going to look at the uses of at with examples, all right? As we earlier mentioned, at is used for very specific and smallest uses. When you want to be very specific about whatever you are talking about. You want to give the exact address, all right? Not just a general location, but a specific address. You use at. For instance, at 20 Martin Street. You can say someone lives on Martin Street, or he works on Martin Street. if you don't want to mention the specific address. But if you are going to be specific and mention the exact address, you use at 20 Martin Street, at 56th Avenue. All right. Then when you want to talk about a location, but you are also very specific, you use at. For example, at the airport, at the State House. All right. Now, the time, talking about time using at is also a more specific reference. Talking about hours, for example, at 4 p.m., at 5 a.m., all right, the exact time. Or you want to mention a given time, at the moment, at the moment. Then you can talk about parts of the day using at, such as at noon, at midnight, at dawn. Cock crow at dawn. All right, a given time of the day. All right, so these are the uses of the three main prepositions. Of course, these are the more common prepositions, but we are going to look at a whole lot of others. Now, here we are. All right. Now we want to look at these prepositions, what they are used for, and then we look at examples. And of course, I have shown you some few examples of where you find examples on prepositions in the WAEC lexis and structure questions, or objective test questions, if you like. Let's begin with for, F-O-R. Now, you can use for a period of time. For example, I was in Abuja for 2 days. For 2 days. In this case, you are talking about a period of time. So you use for 2 days. You can use it for your destination or a destination. Is this the bus for Kano? For here is used to indicate the destination of the bus. Now, you can use for also to indicate reason or the cause of something. And here we find a specific past why question. You have no excuse dash late. Option A, in being late. No. B, to being late. It doesn't sound grammatical at all. C, you have no excuse being late. Of course, it's job breaking. It doesn't make sense at all. D is the answer, all right, for being late. You have no excuse for being late. So you can see the correct option is for being late. You have no excuse for. So you can give a reason for something. You can give an excuse for something, all right? So that is exactly when you use for. Then you can use it for indicating purpose or the function of something. For example, a machine for slicing bread, for slicing bread, all right? You can use it also to indicate support. Are you for or against the proposal? Now, where you have a debate, if you are in support of the proposal or the motion or the topic, then you speak for. If you are opposing, you speak against. So that also shows you that the preposition against indicates, opposition, while the preposition for indicates support. You use for to indicate support, you use against to indicate opposition. Then you use for to indicate intended recipient, someone who is going to receive something. There's a letter for you. Or you can say this letter is for Mary. You use this preposition to indicate the recipient, all right? You can say, is this parcel for me? And the other person says, no, it is not for you, it is for Jack. All right, so you use for to indicate the recipient. It can also be used to indicate help. What can I do for you? For you, that is to help. What kind of help? Then you use for to indicate representation. I am speaking for the youths. That means you are representing the youths. You use for also to indicate responsibility. When to leave is for you to decide. That is your responsibility to decide. All right, let's now take a look at another preposition, which is before. All right, we have looked at the uses of the preposition for. Then let's look at before. Now, before is used to indicate a point in time or point of time. We must leave before 5 p.m. Before 5 p.m. It can also be used to indicate position. For example, he knelt before the throne. He knelt before the throne, all right? To indicate a future task. For example, the task before us is a daunting one. Before us, that is in future, all right? Then to indicate presence, he was brought before the judge, that is in the presence of the judge, all right, before the judge. When you talk about coming boldly to the throne of grace, you come before the throne. You are kneeling before the throne, all right? Then to indicate a reaction, for example, they retreated before the enemy, all right? That is retreat. They retreated before the enemy. All right, so let's look at another preposition, and that is since. Don't forget that the preposition since, just like before, in some cases, before can be used as a subordinating conjunction, and since can also be used as a subordinating conjunction. But that is a topic for another day. So as a preposition, you use since to indicate time duration. For example, she has been off work since Monday, since Monday. Then the preposition from is used to indicate point of departure. For example, has the bus from Owerri arrived? Has the bus from Owerri arrived? Now, when you talk about the bus from Owerri, you are talking about the bus that departed from Owerri, that is coming from Owerri. Then you can use it also to indicate a starting time. For example, he was blind, he was blind from birth. That was the time the blindness started, from birth. That's the point at which something started. All right, then it can be used to indicate a sender. We used for to indicate a receiver, and then we use from to indicate a sender. From Mary to Rose. All right. In that case, from Mary indicates that Mary is the sender, and then uh, to, all right, we can for, all right. When it is a parcel or a letter, we can say it is for. Or if we are talking about the movement from Mary, then we can say to, all right. Okay, so in terms of indicating the sender, for example, the letter is from my brother, from my brother. My brother is the sender, all right? From also is used to indicate origin, the origin of something or someone. For example, she is from Togo. That is her country of origin. She is from Togo. Then you can indicate distance using from as well. For example, our house is a few kilometers, a few meters from the road. That's the distance from the road, all right? Then we can also use that to indicate removal. For example, the party was ousted from power. Removal, you know, we use from removal. Now, prevention is another function, another use of from. For example, she was saved from drowning, you know, prevented, you know. So she was saved from drowning. Then it can be used to indicate reason. For example, she felt sick from tiredness. That's the reason, you know, for being sick, for feeling sick, is as a result, the reason is tiredness. She felt sick from tiredness. All right, then judgment is another use of the preposition from. For example, from what I heard, Jack is in deep trouble. You know, you are, you know, you are arriving at this conclusion. You are reaching this conclusion, you know, and so you say from what I heard. That is judging, you know, basing my judgment on what I heard. From what I heard, Jack is in deep trouble. All right. So let's now move on and see other prepositions and their uses. Well, let's erase our previous marks so we won't get confused. All right. Excellent, excellent. Okay. So let's now look at the next preposition, and that is with. With. Then we can use with to indicate company, someone, you know, you keep company with. For example, Jane lives with her parents. She lives with her parents, is in company of her parents, okay? Then carrying, you know, when you carry something, we say it's with you. The man with a suitcase is my uncle. The man carrying a suitcase. The man with a suitcase is my uncle. In this case, the preposition with is used to indicate carriage, something that someone is carrying. The man with a suitcase is my uncle. That means the man carrying a suitcase is my uncle. Then we can use with to indicate instruments, something you use for something, for a particular purpose. For example, you know, cut it with a knife. Cut it with a knife. All right? All right, then contents, you indicate you use with to indicate the contents of something. For example, the bag was stuffed with dirty clothes. The contents of the bag, were dirty clothes. So we use with to indicate the contents here. Now, opposition. You see, I had an argument with my boss. So that actually indicates opposition. All right? Opposition. I had an argument with my boss. Mr. Okon quarreled with his wife. With his wife. All right? Okay, so you can also use that preposition to indicate manner, the manner in which something happened or how it happened. For example, he behaved with great dignity. If you ask, how did he behave? With great dignity. All right? All right, so then you can also use that to indicate results. For example, skill comes with practice, comes with practice. All right. When you use it to indicate possession, then of course you can say the keys are with the gate man. The keys are with the gate man. Talking about result again, you can say her fingers were numb with cold. The result of the cold was that her fingers were numb. All right. Then to indicate physical features, you can say the girl with a red hair is an air hostess with. That's indicating the physical features of someone or something. All right. The girl with a red hair, all right, is an air hostess. Then the next preposition is after, and we can use it to indicate point of time. For example, they arrived shortly after 7. Shortly after 7 to indicate a point of time. You can use after to also indicate reason, so you can see that there is an overlapping. Different prepositions can be used for the same function. We have talked about using for to indicate reason or results. All right, but again here we're using after to indicate that. We used before to indicate point of time. You can say they arrived shortly after 7 or they arrived shortly before 7. So you can see that different prepositions can be used to indicate a particular idea, but then there will be differences in specific respects. So talking about reason, I will never forgive him after what he said. After what he said, I will never. If someone says I will never forgive him, then what is the reason for this decision? After what he said, or because of what he said. All right. Then you can use after to indicate pursuit. The police are after him. That means they are in pursuit of him. You can also use after to indicate concern or inquiry, to make an inquiry. He asked after you. He asked after you. You can use after to indicate resemblance, and you can say Lucy takes after her mother. Lucy takes after her mother. All right. To take after is idiomatic in nature, and it shows that take collocates with after and gives us the meaning of resemblance. All right. So again, you can see that specific prepositions collocate with specific verbs. We are going to look at, the collocation in terms of what kind of verbs certain prepositions are always used together with. All right, we are going to look at that shortly. Then coming back to on, we look at other uses of on to indicate possession. We talked about place and time, the uses of on for indicating place and time, and we saw specific examples, specific situations where on is used. But let's look at other uses to indicate possession. For example, a friend of mine. Well, we are talking of here. Sorry, that actually is a typo. Here we are talking about of. All right, so let me correct it. It is of that we are talking about here, not on. All right, so let me correct that. That was a typo. Okay, so to indicate possession, we use of, a friend of mine, the works of Shoyinka, of Shoyinka. That means works that belong to Shoyinka. All right. Then you can use of to indicate membership. A director of the company is a member. All right. You talk about membership. Of is used. Then to indicate subject or reflection, a story of passion. The story reflects passion, or the subject of the story is passion. That's the theme. A map of Africa, that's a map that reflects Africa, or a map that is all about Africa, that is telling you, indicating parts of Africa. Then measurements as well. You can talk about 5 kilos of potatoes, a discount of 10%. You can also use of to express time, to indicate expression of time, such as the 10th of March. The 10th of March, all right? So these are the uses of, all right? So let's again wipe the screen. Okay, so then let's look at other uses. Let's look at other uses, other prepositions and their uses. Talking about behind, another preposition, it can be used to indicate the back position when something is at the back of something. For example, we live behind the stadium. That is at the back of the stadium, behind the stadium. The stadium. Now, let's progress. He is behind the rest of the class. Is behind the rest of the class. Is making less progress than the rest of the class. Now, to indicate support, we can say whatever you decide, we are behind you. Behind you. Now, we talked about the preposition for, F-O-R, and how it is used to indicate support. All right? If you are for someone or for something, you are in support of them. Then another way of indicating support is to use behind. We are behind you, all right? Then to indicate the initiator of something, he was behind the plan to build the bridge. It means he initiated the project. He is the initiator. He was behind the plan to build the bridge. The next preposition we look at is under, and we can use it to indicate position. For example, the cat is lying under the table. The cat is lying under the table to indicate the position where the cat is lying. We can use it to indicate quantity or age or even time. For example, his annual income is under 2 million. We want to talk about, either the amount of money or quantity of something. It is illegal for anyone under 18, now talking about age, under 18. We talk about under 20, under 23, under 15, under 16, and so on and so forth, to indicate age. Now, another example is it took him under an hour. That's to talk about the time used for a particular action. The next use of under is to talk about authority or control. For example, she has a staff of 20 working under her, working under her. All right? To indicate process, we can say the matter is still under investigation, under investigation. That's the process, still in the process of being investigated. Again, we can use under to talk about reason or result. For example, her health broke down under the pressure of work. Her health broke down. Why? Because of the pressure of work. And so we use under the pressure of work. All right, so these are the specific uses of these various prepositions. So let's go to the next place and see how we can quickly round off. We have in, we talked about in among the big three, but here we discover that there are so many uses of in, and it's important you take note of them. For example, you can use in to talk about a point in space. For example, is in that drawer. It is in that drawer. Maybe someone is looking for something and you want to talk about a particular point. A country in Europe. In Europe, of course, we talked about in as what we use to talk about continents. Position. She's lying in bed. That's the position, to indicate position. Sitting in an armchair. Sitting in an armchair. Then to talk about inward movement, he dipped his brush in the paint. He got in, that is to show that there's a movement. Then to talk about period of time, in the 19th century, in May in 1981, in the morning. You can use in also to talk about the length of time. It will be ready in a week's time. She learned to drive in 3 weeks. You can talk about dressing using in. For example, they were dressed in their best clothes, in their best clothes. Anne was all in black, all right? Then you can talk about physical surroundings. For example, Junior went out In the rain, to talk about the physical surrounding. In the rain. He was sitting alone in darkness. In darkness. All right. Then you can use in to indicate a state or condition of someone or something. For example, they are in love with each other. That's their condition, the state of their feeling at that point in time. They are in love with each other. Put your house in order. That's the condition of your house. A man in his 40s. All right, that is his state of existence. A man in his 40s. You can also use in to talk about participation, someone taking part in something. For example, he is in the army, is participating in the army, is working in the army. All right, she is in computers, that is where she works or she's involved in that sector. Then to talk about profession or job, is all, well, that's exactly the example we have used, we have spoken about, talking about participation, which is also a bit close to job and profession. But a more specific example is to act in a play. To act in a play, that is to participate in the play. Then talking about shape and quantity, all right? But again, let's take a look at job and profession. He is in the army. That shows that is his job. She is in computers. That is her job or her profession, all right? Then talking about shape or quantity of something. For example, a novel in 3 parts. You are talking about the shape of or the structure of the novel in 3 parts. People flocked in their thousands to see her. In their thousands. That's talking about quantity now. To indicate arrangement, they sat in rows. They sat in rows, how the seating arrangement was made. You can use in to talk about language. Say it in English. She spoke to us in French. So when you want to talk about language, you use in. Again, you can use in to indicate material, the material that something is made of. For example, I paid in cash. That's the material of the money. I put it or put it in writing, all right, in writing. He wrote in pencil. That's to talk about the material that is used for something. The payment is in cash. That's, what you used for the payment. Now, let's look at more of the prepositional patterns. And here we have to look at words that are frequently used with prepositions. In one of the videos you will find on the description section below, you will have a more detailed explanation of the grammatical concept of collocation. Collocation is a grammatical concept that is used to refer to a group of 2 or more words that are frequently used together. All right? And certain prepositions are frequently used with certain verbs or certain adjectives or certain nouns. And so we say that those verbs are the collocates of those prepositions, or that those prepositions are the collocates of the verbs. For example, abstain from alcohol. You can see that abstain collocates with from, abstain from. Account for, you account for something. But also you can say you account for something, but you account to someone, all right? Just like you are responsible for something, but you are responsible to someone, all right? Then accuse, you accuse someone of, you accuse of, or someone is accused of. You agitate for increase. You ask for, you ask for. You believe in, believe in. You boast of something. You communicate with someone. You dream of something. You rely on someone. You wait for someone or for something, and so on and so forth. Now, let's look at two examples, two past questions. One taken from question 48 of West African Senior School Certificate Examination of June 2019. All right. Mike was glad dash that he had won the lottery. So we are looking for the verb and the prepositional collocates, or the preposition and the verbal collocate. Mike was glad dash that he had won the lottery. Option A, to hear, and that is actually correct. Mike was glad to hear that he had won the lottery. Of course, you cannot use for. You cannot say someone who, was glad for hear, no. Or was glad at hearing, or glad on hearing, no. To hear, all right, to hear. That's the appropriate option here. Then the second question was taken from question number 59 of the same West African Senior School Certificate Examination of 2019. When we were in boarding school, my parents usually came to check dash us every week. Dash us every week. All right. Then the verb here is collocate. I mean, the verb here is check. And then we are looking for the preposition that collocates with check. All right. Now, option A, check. Can you say, my parents usually came to check with us? Of course, no. To check on us is correct. That's option B. When you check on someone, you want to make sure that everything is all right with them. You cannot say, my parents usually came to check over us. That is not correct. Or to check for us is not correct. The correct option is on. My parents usually came to check on us every week. Now let's look at prepositions with adjectives. Certain prepositions collocate with adjectives, just as we saw that certain prepositions collocate with certain verbs. Now, talking about adjectives and prepositions, we have these examples: absent from. You know, when you say absent, it goes with from. Absent from what? Afraid of, you know. So afraid goes with of, afraid of someone or something. Ashamed of, talking about ashamed, it goes with of. Familiar to, all right, familiar to, or familiar with. You are familiar with something, you are familiar to someone. Loyal to a person, you are loyal to someone. jealous of someone, ready for work, qualified for, you qualified for something, for a position. For example, terrified of, you are terrified of something. All right, so then we look at prepositions with nouns. For example, admission to a school, you gain admission to a school or to a university. Authority on African literature, you are an authority on something to show that you have a lot of expertise on that. Debate on a motion, you debate on a particular topic. You can say the debate is on, all right? Then doubts about, you doubt about his honesty. Experience of teaching, experience goes with up. Key to success, you talk of key to something. Taster, to have a taste of something, all right? Solution to a problem, solution goes with to. Victim of racism, if you are a victim, then you are a victim of something, all right? A victim of drug addiction, a victim of rape. Now, witness an event, all right, well, that's really not a preposition. You can be a witness of something. Improvement on, you can talk about improving, having made an improvement on something. For example, improvement on earlier models or on a previous achievement. Talking about siege, you lay siege to something, all right, when there is an attack, all right. Now it features, let's look at two specific past examinations, and the first one here is taken from question 57 of West African Senior School Certificate Examination of June 2019. And here what we have is, this is an improvement dash the last report. Option A, over, no. Option B, on, is correct. This is an improvement on the last report. Improvement in is incorrect. Improvement for is incorrect. Then the last question here, taken from question 13 of West African Senior School Certificate Examination of June 2020. The soldiers lay dash the town to arrest the terrorists. A, siege on is not correct. B, siege to is correct. The soldiers lay siege to the town. You lay siege to something. Soldiers, taking over the town or surrounding the town or invading the town in search of terrorists, all right? Then siege with is incorrect. Siege by is incorrect, all right? So that is exactly how it has been in today's lesson. We have been looking at prepositions. So let's wipe this so that we can actually have a clean slate. All right. I hope you have gained a lot from today's lesson on prepositions. At this juncture, I must say that this lesson was put together in response to certain requests from our viewers out there. And of course, one of our viewers requested specifically for a video lesson on prepositions, and this video lesson is in direct response to that. I want to assure you that if you have suggested any topic, we surely deal with that shortly. We are going to upload a video on any of the topics you have requested or suggested. And that means that if you have any suggestion, you have any questions, you have any topics in mind that you would like me to talk about in subsequent videos, you are free to mention them in the comment section below. I want to thank all of you who have been really part of this community, who have given your huge support to this channel. I want to assure you that you are all highly esteemed, and whatever is of concern to you is certainly of concern to us, because our goal is to give you value for your time and attention. And the more we do that, the happier we are, because it gives us joy when we read your comments and when you indicate that you have gotten value on this channel and that the value we provide on this channel have been of use to you. Certainly, we have no greater joy than that. So if you have any comments or any concerns or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below, because these comments really act as very tremendous motivation to us in doing what we are doing here. So if you have not subscribed to the channel, kindly subscribe to the channel at this point. It is just right that you do that, because when you subscribe to the channel, you gain free access to all the videos we upload on this channel, especially when you take a step further and click on the bell icon. That will ensure that whenever a new video is uploaded on this channel, you will be notified instantly. Thank you once again. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye bye for now.
Many thanks for watching today's video. A big thank you to all of you out there for being part of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, kindly subscribe to this channel. Subscribe now as a way of giving us support. For notification about new videos, click on the bell icon. You will find the bell icon. Click on it so that whenever a new video is uploaded, you will be instantly notified. If you have actually enjoyed the video, like and share the video with your friends and relatives. This is very important. If you have any comments, leave your comments below. Any questions, any suggestions, we would gladly receive them and respond promptly and positively to them. See you in the next video. I look forward to always seeing you